Hello and welcome to The Stinger, a superfan's guide to Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and much more in fandom. I'm Josh Gann, and joining me today are my two favorite co-hosts who asked me to CGI remove their mustaches in post. How are we doing, Trent and Joseph? How are we doing today?
It's a sad day, but it's also a day of celebration.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna miss some stuff, and some stuff I'm glad we're just wiping the slate clean.
That's right. It is just like the beginning of the new year. It's the beginning of a new era for DC. Today on the Stinger, if you haven't picked up on it already, we are doing a new attempt at an episode here. We're doing a funeral episode for the DC extended universe. So everything that came out under the DC umbrella, starting with Man of Steel in 2013 up to the most recent movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, at the end of 2023. And so before we get started today, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You can follow us on social media at The Stinger Pod on TikTok and on Instagram. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch our episodes on YouTube. All right, guys, we're here to talk the DCEU, the death of the DCEU today. So for you listening at home, if you're a little unfamiliar why we're doing this episode today, DC is not going away. The brand DC is here to stay. You can still read their comics. They're going to be putting out new stuff. And we're talking about the specific era of DC Comics movies that are under this umbrella, the DCEU, which stands for DC Extended Universe. Those movies began in 2013 with Man of Steel, and they ended this just a month ago in December of 2023 with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's just say a failed experiment in totality, because ultimately it had to end. The decision makers at Warner Brothers, who owns DC, said that's enough. Thank you for your services. We've seen enough here. We're going to stop this experiment, and we're going to hire James Gunn to basically start over. So just like Marvel has the MCU and the ongoing universe there, DC tried to do that, and now they are stopping that, and they're going to reattempt to launch a DC universe with James Gunn as the lead over at DC. Trent, Joseph, how do we feel about this task today?
Yeah, I mean it's a complicated beast, right? Like you said, it's a failed experiment. So there were some really cool decisions made along the way. There were some interesting steps, shall we say? It'll be interesting to see. There's not a lot of consensus, I feel like, about these movies of like with the MCU. It's like everybody agrees that Endgame's at least good, right?
Yeah.
And for the DCEU, I feel like it's a much smaller sample size of like movies that people are universally like, this is good. So I think it could be a good conversation of some favorites for people that may not be ready to hear.
Yeah, I agree. It's very hit or miss.
Yeah,
and even sometimes on the hits they're not great, but when they miss, it is bad.
It's tough. This was we'll get into kind of why that's the case here in a bit, but this was a really strange era of movie making, because the funny thing about it is, I'm sure people will listen and be like, hey, you're forgetting something. You're forgetting the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, or you're forgetting the new Robert Pattinson Batman movies. Well, those don't count, actually. Mm-hmm. Those exist in their own universe. The creators clearly said, please don't lump us in with the rest of what you're doing here. It's funny because DC has... the funny thing is, DC has arguably the best characters in comic book canon. You know, Marvel, both Spider-Man and X-Men, I think, in terms of being the richest lore from the Marvel comics. And DC has it's not just Superman and Batman, it's Wonder Woman, it's the Flash, it's Green Lantern, there is a murderer's row of great comic characters here. And so it's weird that it hasn't quite worked across the board for them yet, you know? Would you guys agree with that?
I think. I mean, I've only read 2 comics in my life so far, and they've both been DC. It's been Batman and Superman. Despite my love of the MCU, I've never quite wanted to make the leap to comics for them. I'm just happy with the movies. Whereas DC, I feel the need to go deeper into the lore. So yeah, I think there's something about the way that they're set up that is inherently more interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't really know how we got to this point with their universe, but yeah, I mean, if you look at DC's history, their animated stuff is mostly
Yes.
very well received. Their comics are generally well received. Trent, I know. Did you read Court of Owls or The Long Halloween?
I read Court of Owls. Yeah.
Either one. They're 2 different eras of Batman, both incredible. And yeah, they have these larger than life characters that Batman is the only one they can kind of consistently nail. And even him, they don't get it right all the time because they neglect the rest of the Bat family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's still something we really haven't seen. So the purpose of today's episode is to say goodbye to this era of the DCEU, and in a very polite and friendly way here, this is the death of an era of DC Comics movies. So we are doing this funeral style today. You can cue the bagpipes, and to get the ceremony started, we're being very on brand today. Our beloved co-host Joseph Snead has prepared a eulogy for the DC Extended Universe. Joseph, would you like to share that eulogy with us all here?
I will. Let's gather together. My friends, we're gathered together to lay to rest the DC Extended Universe. And I'm sure we all have memories to share, but I'd like to offer a quick view of his life. He walked a difficult road, beset by many challenges and failures, but he kept on trying. Born in 2013 to Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer, he stumbled out of the gate, but it can't be said that he had no ambition. Over the years, he tried to get it right, but after each success, he was met with a bitter failure. All the while, he lived in the shadow of other much more successful franchises. Yet he continued. I think as we continue this funeral, let's reminisce about the good times, the bad times, the times to come. He died without pomp and circumstance, to no applause, but he will not be forgotten.
Woo! Wow.
That was beautiful.
Goodness. Not a dry eye in the house. Whew, my goodness. No. That was bone chilling.
Oh, I do my best to memorialize this now dead universe.
That was incredible. Joseph, just bravo. I just want to say I'm proud of you. This was a huge moment. Well, with that all being said, maybe what we can do now is provide some context to everything that Joseph so accurately stated. You know, I think if anything, we learned the DCEU is a fighter. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not going down without a couple of swings, misses, knockout blows. They're gonna get up off the mat and swing again, even if it's the same strategy that didn't work before.
You know, DC is kind of like for a while the Captain America thing of I could do this all day, except they
Mm.
never get the super soldier serum. So pretty much they're just getting beat up in an alley and
Yes.
keep trying to get back up.
So you're saying
Yeah.
the DCEU is just a skinny kid with asthma who can?
Yes. I think so. I think that's what
Pretty
he's saying.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can relate. That was me once.
Yeah, to be clear, that was not a shame on people with asthma. That's actually canonical to the first Captain America movie. I just realized I was like, actually, that's a terrible thing to say out of context. So
It's okay. I in the asthmatic community give you permission. So
Same. You got it.
thanks, guys.
You
Thanks,
got it.
guys. I appreciate
Yep.
that you all aren't like, what's Trent talking about?
Incredible. All right, we're gonna kick off this thing with some categories, like we love to do. To give you a taste, we're talking things like our favorite hero, our favorite villain, our top 3 favorite movies, our least favorite movies. We're gonna start from kind of the director executive's chair and look at, when they were making their choices 10 years ago, how to build this universe. You got to cast some pretty important choices. If you look at like the MCU had to boldly go cast Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark to kick off their cinematic universe. So does DC have something close to that? What was DC's best casting choice in your opinion?
We all made fun of it at the time. Actually, I'm gonna make a mid thought pivot here on the casting choice. You know what? I think despite this person's first movie appearance, I think the best casting choice the DCEU made was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Ah, yes.
I
Interesting.
I think she's having so much fun as Harley in all 3 of her appearances, and I think she makes every facet of Harley work. Like the jokester, the just like not really in touch reality, just having fun with life. But then also there's like this element of Harleen Quinzel as a trained psychologist, and so she has these moments in all 3 of her movies where she'll like dish out this kind of sage wisdom about who people around her actually are, and it sort of takes them aback. And I think
Yeah.
she sells all the parts of Harley really well. And then the action stuff, even Margot Robbie's really good at in all 3 appearances. So yeah, she ends up being for me the standout performance for these.
yeah, I think I will also pick Margot Robbie. I think
Wow.
she
All right.
she did. I think she did the most to elevate the character.
Yep.
Because Harley Quinn is essentially a character who was made for a cartoon show and has made the jump to be one of their most popular characters in publishing today. And I think her charisma has kind of carried the Suicide Squatty side of it, the more like villainy side of the universe. So, and Trent, I know you were getting close to clowning on Ben Affleck at first, and then thinking he was pretty good. But
Yeah.
um, I'd like to give a shout out too to Jeremy Irons.
Great Alfred.
Great choice. Great choice. He is
Yeah.
a great Alfred. Different than what we get with Michael Caine and now Andy Serkis too.
Yeah, because it's this great thing where like all the other Alfreds are these older men to like young men, and they're like being nurturing, and then you get Jeremy Irons who's just like, hey, you're middle aged, and I'm kind of over all your like stuff at this point.
Exactly. Like it's like a full relationship that's like at the end, like they're clinging on by a thread. So I was gonna pick Margot Robbie. I'll pick someone else, but like we'll just camp out on this real quick. Do y'all think she comes back for James Gunn's DCU?
So she said that like somebody asked her about Lady Gaga and the Joker sequel, and she's like, I've always viewed Harley as like meant to be passed on to other performers, and people have taken that to be sort of a resignation. But James Gunn then came out and was like, now there's no plans to cast somebody else. So I think it's sort of like when there's actually a script for Harley, like I imagine he'll approach her and be like, hey, if you want it, like I would like you to do it.
Yeah, I think that too because of them working together on the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
I don't think he would just go and pick somebody else when she's already there.
Yeah, I agree.
She's so good. I really hope that she stays. I don't know when they would need her back up, because she did just like openly say in an interview that like she's gonna be going away from movies for a while because she thinks people are tired of her. I'll just say like, no, we're not. Like, please re-enter the ring as Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie.
You're doing great work. Keep going.
Exactly. So I hope we see her more of her. I'm not gonna repeat what y'all have said. I will say what Trent wasn't gonna say though, and that's Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne and Batman.
He's great.
Right?
Mhm.
It's weird how so many of the different Batmen just all completely work as Batman in their own way.
Yeah.
Like I think you're right. People were kind of anti Ben Affleck as Batman when he was first cast in the role. But what have we never seen before? We haven't seen the middle-aged Batman who's been doing this for a long time already, and is coming into his career after he's already lived an entire life as the hero is really cool. And
Yeah.
I just they really missed an opportunity with getting to tell some really interesting stories with an older Batman.
No, going back to the Alfred thing, there's a great line in Batman vs Superman where he says to Alfred, "I'm older than my father ever was." And like,
Oh,
it's such a great
yeah.
existential crisis that he's like, I spent my mission avenging people who I have now outgrown. Like, what does that mean? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it coming up, but in a movie that I just saw, The Flash, legitimately, like in the 5 minutes that he's in it, one of the best parts of that movie, I thought.
Yep.
yeah,
Still, like even in
Michael Keaton still got it. Like, it's
he
kind of
does.
insane.
He does. That was also crazy. All right, we're gonna flip the coin here. Listen, there's just gonna be some negative things to talk about on this podcast. What is the worst overall decision made by the execs running the DCEU throughout the run of the DCEU?
For me, it's hands down the racing to Justice League and the team up
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you asked people, like, if they had to name the single critical error, like, most people would say that. It was like, that was the third movie made in the DCEU.
I think it's the fourth.
Suicide
We
Squad was
had
before Justice
Oh,
League.
it was. You're
Yep.
right.
Yep.
But so fast.
Yeah.
And it serves as a backdoor origin to like Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the Flash and Cyborg and all these things. Or no, Wonder Woman's already in BVS. But yeah, a lot of setup.
But you could
Actually,
argue
it was the fifth because Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad came out before
You're right.
Justice
You're
League.
right. I totally messed up my counting there.
Your
But
point still
the
stands.
point is valid. The point is valid, and those movies that came before it were just like precursors to it. They didn't
Right.
stand alone really on their own. They were just there to get to Justice League. It felt like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their worst decision was killing Superman in the second movie.
That was also going to be in my list.
Oh, that was bad,
But
man.
I remember
Oh
sitting in the
my
theater
gosh.
being like, they know that we know that this isn't going to stick, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm fine with Batman versus Superman as a concept. And for the most part, I like the movie. And I don't even think that they handled the death of Superman that badly in the movie. It was just the wrong time. They
Yep.
should have had a Justice League movie before they did the death of Superman.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, I can't think of any worse decision they made that just throws off the universe than killing Superman for like half of their universe's existence in time.
Yes.
He was dead for like 2 or 3 years.
I mean, could you imagine if we're gonna? I mean, I don't want to do this the whole podcast, but could you imagine if, like, at the end of Iron Man 2, Tony Stark dies?
Yeah, and then they didn't bring him back to like Endgame for the big team up movie. Like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And they're like, "Oh, War Machine's the main character now."
Exactly. We'll send Rhodey out there. He'll form a smaller Avengers team with Hawkeye and Black Widow. Yeah, that was a tough one. So Mine is kind of in the same line as yours, Trent. But I put it this way. I think the worst decision they made was trying to play catch up with Marvel.
Yep.
Because by the time Man of Steel comes out, the MCU has already gotten through phase 1.
Yep.
Avengers has already come out, and they're starting like super behind where Marvel is. Marvel has basically just cracked the code on, oh my gosh, we can do this. We can make superhero movies that live in a connected universe. In DC, instead of saying, oh cool, let's try that too, just said, no, we got to be where they're at now before they even laid any of the groundwork to get there.
Yep.
It's one of because again, these are such amazing characters. These are such amazing characters, and to rush anything in any creative process is just a bad recipe for success. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I've always said at a bare minimum, we needed a standalone Man of Steel sequel before BVS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the fact that that movie tries to be the intro for that version of Batman and a sequel to Man of Steel, like that's the main thing that breaks that movie for me.
And we also didn't get, and I realized that we were coming off the heels of the Dark Knight trilogy, so it would have been soon.
Yeah.
But we also didn't get a standalone Batman movie. And I don't know if that, would have worked at the time, but like I was watching the CinemaSins video for Batman v Superman, and there was about 3 times where he stopped it and was like pointed at an Easter egg related to Batman and was like, look, this would have been a better movie than anything we're getting here. And I'm just like, yeah, you're right. There's so much. The Easter eggs were better like storylines to follow. So
Yeah.
tough stuff. All right, let's relish in the good times a little bit. Who is our favorite hero that came out of the DCEU?
This is gonna be a hot take for a lot of the DC people, but I actually really dig what they did with Superman. Like I think the more conflicted, angsty Superman is more interesting in a lot of ways than the Boy Scout version we get a lot of the time.
Huh.
And so yeah, having this character who's like, I'm not from Earth, but I was raised by humans, and so I'm going to try to intervene because this is my home now. But also, those humans are starting to hate me. I think that's a really interesting way to torment a character who doesn't have any physical weaknesses.
Yeah, I agree. Are you saying though, like the it's the idea, or like you're saying like, nah, they executed this they executed what they wanted to do well.
Yeah, I think like whether you agree with what it should be for Superman or not, I think Zack Snyder made exactly what he wanted to make, and I found it to be interesting.
Okay.
Trent, you got to stop taking my answers.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
really, I'm surprised by this. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Superman was my favorite of the heroes. Aquaman, I had a great time with, and Aquaman is my favorite DC hero. But I was mostly down with what they did with Superman. I think his arc makes a lot more sense if you watch it in the context of the Zack Snyder Justice League.
Yep.
Even though there's a lot of problems with that movie. But I think Superman was good. And like Trent said, I think the conflicted Superman was an interesting way to do it. So yeah, I'm
look,
gonna go.
I think Christopher Reeve is like the platonic ideal of like the comic book version, and so you can't like do that without seeming like you're ripping Christopher Reeve off. And I think Snyder realized that.
I think James Gunn is going to do something like that, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a time figuring out how to like do it, but make it different enough to justify its existence.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a more classic Superman.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. I'm very excited for James Gunn's Superman.
Me too.
I just want to put that. I don't know. This one threw me off. I was not expecting to hear Superman on this podcast, and you both said it. I think there's a tragedy to me is losing Henry Cavill as Superman, because I thought he embodies who you think of when you think of Superman, and like was able to do what you guys said in terms of having that grittier, more Superman, and like brought into a modern perspective. He was able to emulate that. It was great. That was probably my favorite thing about this version of Superman, was what Henry Cavill brought to the performance of it.
Mhm.
My favorite hero was Wonder Woman, though.
Nice. Great pick.
Good choice.
I just think it was to me. Okay, so to me, the difference between Wonder Woman and Superman in this universe is I think we as the audience care more about Wonder Woman than Superman. I don't know if
I think that's valid. Yeah.
I think we, because of that first Wonder Woman movie, one of the more critically acclaimed DCEU movies, like they really do a great job.
Definitely the first critically acclaimed.
Yeah, absolutely. They gave her character a home and a motive for existing in the like current world and to become a superhero. She's a leading woman superhero, like the truly like this is before Captain Marvel came out. So I think she was like the first lead woman superhero to like have a leading title in the superhero genre.
Well, Catwoman, but
all right. Well, that's true. Actually, that's true. You know what? We need to put some respect on the Catwoman movie's name. You know what? It was a trailblazer for its day.
Trailblazer ahead of its time in some ways.
Truly ahead of its time. People don't want you to say it.
I don't know if we need to put respect on Catwoman's name.
I think that's a movie that has an anniversary this year, by the way. So maybe.
Oh my gosh, that could be. I've actually never seen
future content. I've seen clips. But I kind of want to get into that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, I think the Wonder Woman character in this universe is unique and set apart from Batman and Superman, and brings her own agency, and kind of there's a little bit of that first movie that feels almost a little bit too much like Captain America: The First Avenger to me, but it also is a really good movie, I think, and she's my favorite character.
No, it's really good. I was actually just finishing rewatching that one today, and I'm like,
oh really?
This is like, I liked it in the theater, and I'm like, it's even better than I remembered. Like I was like, this, like her and Chris Pine's relationship is probably one of the more earned like love interest things we've ever gotten in a comic book movie.
Yes,
Marvel, DC, or otherwise. Like,
yes, I agree.
Yep.
The Lasso of Truth, by the way, top 3 weapon in the DCEU.
Incredible.
An incredible weapon.
Hilarious weapon.
Hilarious as well.
Hilarious. Yeah, I love it. I think it's amazing. All right. Who is our favorite villain?
I'm going to go back to the well here, guys. Good old General Zod, like, is, I think, like a Shakespeareanly tragic figure. It's a perfect contrast to Cavill Superman, because he's all conflicted of like, am I an alien or am I a human? What is my purpose? And then you have Zod on the whole other end, who's like, I'm so committed to my purpose of protecting Krypton that I will get rid of Kryptonian rulers who I think are destroying it, and I will destroy a planet to create a new Krypton. No, I also think Michael Shannon's just like one of the great actors working right now, so there's like a bias in that way for me as well.
Trent, if you don't stop taking my answers,
I'm so sorry. I think that'll be the last one.
Hey, also, this is just kind of what we got. We're we're working with limited supply here.
I won't take Zod. I don't want to be seen as a copycat. So, Zod's my favorite, but Trent keeps taking my answers, so I'll give my second favorite, and that is Orm.
Yeah, I'm glad you're giving Orm a shout out.
I enjoyed Orm in the first Aquaman movie. I think he was.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
I mean, that just kind of shows what we're working with the villains that Josh was like, who is that?
I was trying to remember who Orm was.
Yeah, I think Orm was like, he was definitely a bad guy, but he was like, I got to take care of Atlantis, and all of these other people are messing with it. So I'm going to frame these other people and then go destroy the world to protect Atlantis. But I thought Orm was was fun. I had a good time with him.
Yeah, he like projects his voice and yells 8 different times in that movie, and it's awesome every time. Yeah.
It is great. Yeah, the yelling underwater is so funny because it's just like, all right, how do we make this look loud? Send a bunch of little waves going through the water.
It's
It's great.
incredible stuff.
It's great. Yeah. I see, here's the thing. When I hit this category, I was like, okay, think of the good movies, Josh. What if it's a good movie, then it probably had a good villain. And like I don't know. I think my favorite movies, the villains are pretty forgettable. Can I say Black Adam?
Sure, I'll allow it. I'll allow it as like an anti-hero adjacent.
Yeah.
Look, the villains just don't do it for me in this universe. Besides Zod, you said Zod, and I'm like, okay, that probably is the real pick here. But
I think if you guys had seen Birds of Prey, one of us would have given an honorable mention to Ewan McGregor just because he's having so much fun.
oh my gosh, yes.
He's having
talk
fun.
about him. Talk about him real quick.
Okay, like there's literally a part of this thing where like he like is like torturing this family of gangsters, and he's gonna leave the one person alive, and they're hanging upside down. And she's like, thank you so much for leaving me alive. And then like she's crying, and so he's like looking at her, and he's like, ooh, is that a snot bubble in your nose? Actually, that's gross. Like, never mind, get rid of her. And he just leaves. Like that's the psychopath energy he's carrying for the whole movie.
Wow. Okay.
And just stuff like that. And just like he's like he literally because like he plays a Black Mask, and so he collects all these weird like face skull things. And at one point he's just showing like this person his apartment, and he's like, ooh, isn't this weird? Like, this person was alive 800 years ago. Now they're above my mantelpiece. Isn't that gross? And he's just like walking around to the next thing. It's just, he's never had more fun.
That's so creepy. Wait, yeah. I need to watch that. I will say that's the one on this list where I was mad that I didn't watch it before this episode.
Streaming on Max and now Netflix.
There you go. There's that syndication, baby. All right. Okay. I am going... Yeah, like I said, Black Adam, that's mine. I think I would love to give Birds of Prey a chance and see Ewan McGregor as a villain. That sounds wonderful. We're going to move on to more of the movie-specific categories here. All right, so this one, feel free to debate. Feel free to tell us we're wrong. What was the most underrated movie in the DCEU?
Birds of Prey, for me. It's so much fun. I think I've talked about this on the pod, but like I'm a sucker for movies that are under 2 hours that like just know what they are and they're quick.
Yes.
And this movie's like an hour and 45 minutes. So just to set it up for you guys, Harley has, in between the events of 2016's Suicide Squad and this movie, she has broken up with the Joker. And so she's getting like
bless her heart.
She's getting trashed in bars, being like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But now that she's broken up with the Joker, all the criminals of Gotham who are afraid to mess with her because of Joker before are now like, oh, we're going to like get our vengeance now. And so including Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. And she ends up having to steal a diamond that a pickpocket has swallowed that belonged to Black Mask. So it's the thing of like Roman wants to kill the kid to get the diamond back, and she wants to save the kid and then teams up with other people to help save the kid. It's just a great like 90-minute adventure. It's all told from Harley's perspective. So like, for example, she blows up the Ace Chemicals plant at one point, and instead of seeing just flames, she also sees like cotton candy colored fireworks going off.
That's amazing.
And there's one action scene that is really great where she just breaks into the GCPD that's really well done. I think the stunt team that actually is the same company that choreographs the John Wick franchise worked on this movie. And so it's just all one take and actual like acrobatic gymnastic hand-to-hand combat. It's so much fun, and nobody saw it because it came out right before the pandemic hit. So just the worst timing for Birds of Prey. Doesn't break the mold narratively, not the most complex story, but I think just a fun blast and very watchable and rewatchable.
Do you think that's the biggest thing holding it back is the time in which it was released?
I think so. I think it was that, and then people not knowing what was happening with DC. And I feel like it's going to work better now in a post Barbie world where like Margot Robbie is for sure a household name, and it's like, where can I see more Margot Robbie stuff? Whereas before it was like, who is she and who are these characters? Like Birds of Prey was sort of a lesser known DC thing.
Yeah, I think that was because I mean, in fairness to Margot Robbie, though, this is like a year. This is coming off the heels of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. And so you have like that buzz. I just remember when this movie came out, not knowing Like I legitimately was confused. Like, wait, is this DCEU? Like
One,
this is on their scheduled slate. Like I don't know
I don't
what's
know if you
happening
remember,
here.
but like they changed the title when it was in theaters because originally it was
Oh,
just
they
Birds of
did.
Prey, and then they were like, "Oh wait, nobody knows what this is," or that Margot Robbie's in it, so then it changed it to like the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. So
I
it's
did not
both
know
those
that.
titles now.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, I didn't realize that. That's
But yeah,
great to know.
I think it's a lot of fun, and like there's a lot of talk of with these superhero movies for both DC and Marvel where it's like they get indie directors to
Yeah.
direct it, but then they don't actually get to put their stamp on it. This feels like an indie movie in all the best ways. Like it feels like it was
Yeah.
shot on real locations and just like a small cast having a lot of fun with like the budget and time that they have.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I do really want to check it out.
would recommend.
Joseph, what was your most underrated movie?
I don't know. I feel like most of these movies are rated pretty well. uh, I mean, I guess I'll say Shazam. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Talk
Shazam's
about Shazam.
I mean, it's a fun little family movie. He's the kid figuring out his superpowers, and I don't know. I think most people just didn't really care about it. But it's a fun movie. I mean,
Yeah,
I love Shazam.
me too.
I also think
it
it had the disservice of coming out the same year that Endgame came out.
Yep.
yeah.
Like think about it. Like Marvel had Captain Marvel, Endgame, and then the second Spider-Man MCU movie, and DC all they had was Shazam. Like that's just not fair. That's not a fair fight at all.
No.
Yeah. And Shazam came out in like April, so it was right between Captain
Yes.
Marvel and Endgame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Shazam. It's just kind of looking at the list of these movies, I'm like, I don't know. I think most of them are rated
Most of
pretty
them are.
accurately.
Yeah. I would give this one to Aquaman for me. I think Aquaman's underrated. I do. I think because I think it gets left in the middle, you know? No one when people are like, "Oh, you know what sucks like these DC movies like you got this, you got that." No one's ever like, "Oh, Aquaman."
Well,
But
I
then
am,
also okay, maybe. Never mind. I can't speak for everyone. Well, I personally thought I really enjoyed Aquaman. I
I like
thought
quite a bit too.
there's something so like unique and funny about the way this movie exists, like so completely underwater, and you clearly know it's fake, but they actually do a good job of making it seem kind of real. You know, like I really thought they brought an underwater world to life for one of the first times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Aquaman to me, I just felt like it was underrated. I felt like that was another movie that made us care for the hero pretty well. For having only seen him in Batman's emails and Justice League, the Joss Whedon version, like Arthur Curry was really cool in this movie.
He's great. No, I mean I think I remember Joseph. I think you showed it to a group of us when we were at school the first time, and I was like,
Oh
"This
yeah.
is okay, but kind of dumb." And then when like the pandemic happened, I rewatched it on Max, and I was like, "Hold on, is this the greatest thing ever made?" Like, an octopus plays the drums, and Julie Andrews' voice is a kraken. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's great stuff.
Gimli's a crab king. Like,
And Aquaman rides a seahorse into battle.
Yes. Underwater Gandalf.
So no, I've become like an Aquaman truther, like full 180. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
that's
this
right.
movie's incredible.
That's right.
I feel like I want to go. I didn't get to rewatch it because I'd seen it so many times, but I'm like, I might watch that tonight. Like,
I might do that myself. Yeah. So shout out to Aquaman. All right. What was the movie that you watched? You were like, dang, I don't know about this, guys. But man, if they had done one thing differently, or a couple things, maybe multiple things differently, this could have been a really good movie. What's the movie with the most untapped potential?
So this might be a controversial pick. And Joseph, I hope I'm not stealing your answer here. I don't think I am. I'm going to go with Wonder Woman 1984, actually.
Wow. Interesting.
So watching this movie in 2020, people may remember this is when they're doing like the same day in theaters and on HBO Max. So I was like, let's fire this up on HBO Max. I
Christmas
think
Day, Christmas Day. Don't
I
forget
was
that
about to,
part.
I was about to say this is like right before New Year's Eve when Emily, Matt, and I watched this,
Okay.
and I'm like, this is silly, and I'm like, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right, right.
Like, Patty Jenkins has said openly that her Wonder Woman franchise has been influenced by the Richard Donner Superman films, which are great, but they are inherently silly. And I think if we're being honest here, there's something silly about superheroes in general. So I don't think that's a bad way to approach this material.
Yeah.
And like the wishing stone thing is weird, but it's like it's kind of perfect as just a random superhero villain MacGuffin. So I think
Yeah.
if it's just like the Kristen Wiig cheetah stuff is a little bit more nuanced and not as cliche, and like one more pass at how like the wishing stone works, I think that movie goes from like cheesy, I don't like to say bad, but kind of bad, but watchable, to
Yeah.
like actually like a fun time. I think it's actually a lot closer to fun than people give it credit for.
I think so too. I want that on the record. I thought it was a funny movie.
Yes,
It made me laugh. Pedro Pascal going off the rails
incredible stuff.
is one of the best things we got out of that movie.
And
Like,
make no mistake, that was intentional. That was all
yeah.
intentional Pedro choices in directing. That
My
was not
dude-
just random nonsense.
my dude was holed up in a audio recording booth for 2 seasons straight of The Mandalorian, and then they were like, "Here you go, just go ahead, man, do whatever you want," and he
Yeah.
ran with it, and I'm proud of him for that. I just think it's worth noting that movie came out on Christmas Day of the pandemic year, so there was such a high level of expectations
Yes.
on Wonder Woman 84 to right the wrongs of 2020, to give us one little glimmer of hope heading into the next year.
December of
And-
19 had given us Cats, and people were still recovering.
No, December of 19 gave us the
Yep.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yep. I mean, it's a bad run.
but
I remember. Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
You are right about Wonder Woman having such this high potential. My family and I got HBO Max to watch Wonder Woman.
A lot of
we
families
would,
did.
Once
we
they
would not
announced
have,
that plan, people did that for all
Yep.
those releases that year.
yeah, and the movie ended, and I was like, "Huh, that was kind of bad, but I liked it." And my parents and my sister were like, "Huh, that was awful."
Yeah, it's interesting because like watching it, I was like, that was awful. But as I was thinking about like the DCEU as a whole and thinking about, I'm like, it's the nostalgia of age maybe, where I was just like, actually, that was kind of bad, but it was fun. Maybe I need to watch it and just like enjoy it for what it is, because like I think that does change movies sometimes when you go back with those goggles.
It does. It does. In the moment, I remember, because the other movie that came out on Christmas on streaming was Soul.
Yes.
Great movie. And I remember being with my family, and we had to make the choice, like on Christmas night, after we've seen all the relatives that we can, what are we watching? And we landed on Wonder Woman 84. And I just gotta say, it wasn't the right choice. Soul was a
No.
better movie. We should have
Soul-
not
started
for
with
that
Soul.
moment in time, for sure.
Exactly.
Soul is a significantly better movie.
Yes.
Yep. All right. What about you, Joseph? What movie had the most untapped potential for you?
I think when you look at what the movie was expected to be and what it could have been, Batman versus Superman.
Great
Yeah.
choice.
Because Batman versus Superman had the chance to do something that we didn't really ever see before. It got delayed a bunch of times. It was supposed to come out before Civil War. Actually, I think it did come out before Civil War.
Yeah, because it was
And-
like
Oh,
March of 16.
Yeah, it was like 2 months before Civil War. So
You're
they
right.
could have gotten the jump on the superheroes fighting each other, and they just fumbled it. And this is coming from somebody that actually does, for the most part, like Batman v Superman. The Ultimate Edition, the theatrical edition, sucks.
Accurate.
But I think they had weird motivations for why Batman and Superman wanted to fight each other. Like Superman was like, "Hey, buddy, I need you to help me save my mom," and Batman was like, "I need to kill you before you kill everybody."
Yep.
And I think they had the perfect motivations for them there, even from the opening scene, where Batman is like, "We got to get rid of this guy for what he did to Metropolis. Those Kryptonians teamed up. That's really what happened." And Batman being paranoid and not being able to trust anybody. And then Superman can go after Batman for his brutal tactics. And they teased both of those motivations in the movie and then went with something different.
Yep.
And then obviously you have the death of Superman at the end, which was a mistake. Wonder Woman's introduction was great.
Dude,
I
those
think
guitars.
it was really good. Yeah, I think it was awesome. But I think they could have done a Batman versus Superman even as their second movie and done it differently and focused on Lex as the villain. Lex is kind of not a great villain, but I think they could have done some stuff with him manipulating them more against each other, which again they tease, but he manipulates them in ways that don't really make sense.
So
Yeah.
And I think they could have ended the movie with them forming a Justice League to defeat
Ooh.
threats like that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
and then the actual Justice League movie is them reacting to Steppenwolf instead of like, okay, let's just go rehash the Avengers.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually a Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor stan a little bit. I actually kind of dig his performance just as something that's different from what we've seen from a Lex
Interesting.
before. I like the idea of making him just sort of this like spoiled billionaire who's like, but if I'm smart and rich, like nobody can be more influential than me. And then Superman literally falls out of the sky and like breaks his whole belief system. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I agree that it's intentionally built this way as funny that like the scene of them at the party when they're like in their civilian disguises and like Jesse Eisenberg literally points to Henry Cavill and is like, "You would not want to pick a fight with this person." Like, I was like, "All right, we're not being subtle about this at all." And then they're like, "Oh, actually, was it Lex Luthor who was doing this the whole time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, guys, was."
I think Lex was good in his more like quiet moments, but when he's over the top, I'm just like, I don't connect with this. But then when he's kind of behind closed doors, experimenting on Zod and scheming, I liked it more.
But as a wrestling fan, did you appreciate his WWE announcer voice where he's like black versus blue, day versus night?
No,
I forgot about that. Oh,
Son of Krypton versus Bat of Gotham.
I was like cringing out of my skin at that.
Yeah, it didn't play in the trailer. It sounded cool, but in the movie, in the scene itself, it did not play the same way.
This is another great example of never trust a trailer. Like
this is literally the movie where I stopped watching trailers afterwards.
You can make anything look good in a trailer. You really, I think so. If you got the right team behind the scenes.
The first Batman v Superman trailer is like maybe the best trailer that's ever been made.
The shot of just like Bruce running through the debris and then it cuts to black and all that, like, oh, so good.
Yeah.
Jeremy Irons monologue voiceover.
Yeah. Amazing.
So
it's great.
So I think the most untapped potential movie for me is a movie that got two versions and neither one was a perfect success. That is so I'm picking Zack Snyder's The Justice League.
Okay.
I sat down and I watched the Snyder Cut, all 4 hours of it over the course of 2 days. And let me tell you, it was enjoyable. I enjoyed that movie. The box aspect ratio, what is it? 4:3.
4:3.
4:3. That's what it is. The 4:3 aspect ratio. Honestly, I loved it. I'm like, this is so cool. You took a superhero movie and you decided we're gonna throw it old school. We're gonna keep it in a box because I remember him saying like he wanted the action to look vertical.
Mm-hmm.
It maybe not for the whole movie, but for certain scenes, that's a really cool idea. I just think like The thing I loved about the Snyder Cut was, it wasn't the Flash entering the Speed Force like the Oscars wanted you to believe. Um,
Yeah.
it instead was all the time that we got to meet and greet each character throughout the first like third to half of the movie. The time that we get knowing Barry Allen, the time that we get knowing Cyborg, the seeing Bruce Wayne on the street level, like interacting with each of these characters, getting to know them for the first time was really cool. I almost am like, it reminds me a little bit of like what we ended up getting with the Eternals, where you get all of these like little character moments that eventually culminate into a big CGI fight that doesn't really land. And that kind of feels like what the Snyder Cut was. And the Snyder Cut could have just condensed a lot of that, or shoot, it could have turned it into a TV show. I mean, shoot, we got so much content in this movie that didn't need to be that long. Why not just throw some more stuff in there and make it a limited series? Like there was a lot of if the DCEU did not do a great job of building up these characters before the Justice League. So if you were going to do that, then you had to do it properly within the Justice League. And I felt like Snyder's version did a better job of that. Even though, well, I'll say I thought it did a pretty good job of it because I haven't seen Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean, like, Josh, just to give you perspective, like in Zack Snyder's Justice League, like Cyborg's arguably the main character in terms of having a character arc. In Joss Whedon's version, like Cyborg doesn't like hardly exist.
Are you
Like,
serious?
Like none of the background stuff with his parents or that montage of him helping the woman get money from her bank account or whatever, like that's all gone.
Oh my gosh,
and,
come on.
And you know how like in the Snyder Cut, his dad sacrifices himself
Yeah.
so that his dad like lives to the end of the movie.
Yeah, in the theatrical cut.
In the theatrical, like he doesn't die. He's there at the end of the movie, and him and Cyborg are just like hanging out.
That makes no sense.
Oh, and also
that's a major part of his backstory.
In Zack Snyder's version, like Steppenwolf's trying to re-ingratiate himself to like Darkseid, and then in the Joss Whedon version, he has like this Oedipus fixation on the mother boxes itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's walking around. He's like, I must do this for mother.
Yeah, like mother. Like
nah,
let me feel the
like
energy,
that.
mother. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so weird.
I don't like that at all. Nope.
So Darkseid never even gets like mentioned in the Joss Whedon one.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And the parademons look like crap, and Batman captures a parademon at the beginning of the movie with like a net and a siren.
Yeah.
That is okay. That's a lot. There's a lot I'm hearing that I don't like. And like, to be clear, there's stuff I didn't like about Snyder Cut either. Like the fact that we get the like 13-minute long dream sequence post-credit scene at the end of the movie is like one of the wildest choices I can remember. I don't know.
Martian Manhunter.
No, we didn't need that actually. We didn't.
Well, even more than the end scene, him like pretending to be Martha Kent.
That made no sense. I was like, wow.
That was so weird. That was so weird.
That scene with Lois Lane and Martha Kent, you're like, wow, this is a really great and touching scene between these two. Like Martha Kent misses Clark and Lois misses Clark, and they're talking about moving on. And then he walks out and he transforms into this like alien with a weird looking cape and is like, I did my job. We need Lois Lane back.
Like what? That was nuts. There was so much happening there. But you shorten it, tighten it up a little bit. I think that we could have got a pretty decent movie out of that. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, the time has come. We're gonna get to the favorites and least favorites. We'll end positive. What was everyone here? What was your least favorite DCEU movie?
My least favorite is the theatrical cut of Justice League. For sure.
All right, there you go.
I mean, just rushing to Justice League in general, it was bizarre. And then you have the whole thing where Zack Snyder had to step away due to tragic family circumstances. And so DC uses that as an opportunity, not just to bring in a director to finish a movie that's mostly done, but to try to like revamp it and like Marvelize it, they literally hired the guy who did the Avengers to do it. And you can just I watched the first 10 minutes of it the other night, and I'm like, you can tell everything's reshot because it's just on very tiny sets and the CGI is weird. And since everybody complained about Man of Steel and BVS being too dark, literally everything's like hyper brightened in post
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
looks bad. Um like I
Superman's
said,
upper lip.
Superman's upper lip is a whole thing. Like I said, they stripped away all of the nuance out of Cyborg, which is just truly one of the most baffling choices I've seen in any of these movies. Um, yeah, it's just there's like the things that I liked about the theatrical cut were all stuff that Snyder had in his version that must have just been there from the beginning. There's nothing that's like from Whedon that I'm really attached to at all.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
tough.
I I don't feel bad about copying you on this one, Trent. Justice League, it's it's bad. It is
It's
really
something.
bad.
People, I
Suicide
mean,
Squad. Suicide Squad might be a worse movie, but nobody cares that Suicide Squad is bad.
When at least they
Like,
gave us Margot Robbie as
Yep.
Harley Quinn and Will Smith as Deadshot's pretty cool. So
yeah,
and Viola
like,
Davis as Waller for the first
Right.
time. Like,
yeah.
these are
Justice League. You have that weird opening scene with Superman on like an iPhone camera,
the kids are like, "What does it mean?"
and he's like, "It means hope." And Joss Whedon uses that same stupid joke he used from Age of Ultron, where the Flash like falls onto Wonder Woman,
Oh yeah, it's so weird.
and it's bad.
oh, oh yeah. Joss
And
Whedon, not a great guy.
and he has made some great music in his day, but man, Danny Elfman mailed it in on that one.
He
That
literally just copy
score,
pastes his two Superman and Batman scores and just mixes them into the final fight soundtrack.
yeah. So Superman shows up, and they're playing like the John Williams Superman music in the scene where he's still like evil, crazy Superman and is fighting the Justice League at the statue. And then Batman shows up, and they're playing the 1989 Batman theme while
Oh man.
he's like in the Batmobile shooting down parademons. Oh, Trent, that stupid Russian family.
Oh yeah, that's so weird. There's a whole Russian family, Josh, in the final act where they split up the Flash from the rest of the team for some reason. That's like, hey, you need to get this random family that's somehow near this nuclear facility and put them in a truck and push the truck far away.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so he does
What?
that, and all the while they had to get Superman away from the fight too. So Flash like pushes this car away out of danger, and then he looks over, and Superman is just carrying a building full of people.
Yeah.
But he's not carrying it from like the bottom. He's carrying it from the end, and it's this like apartment building that he's holding from one end and just pushing. But he's flying while he does it, and the building is floating. And then they have Superman's suit looks awful in this.
It looks bad.
It looks terrible. And then they have the scene at the end where him and the Flash have the race of who's faster, and it's the slow motion Henry Cavill CGI mustache lip, and it's so bad. It is.
This hurts.
Like,
This
there's
hurts a
like
little bit.
almost nothing good about it. And they reshot all of the scenes, and Ben Affleck looks like really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of like, oh, Ben Affleck got fat. You're like, I think this guy is struggling with like alcoholism right now, which he was. His face was all just like
I would say I
swollen
think he
and
literally
red.
did say he was. But
I
I think
forgot.
I think he also
Ugh.
said though that doing those reshoots was the moment he realized he didn't want to direct like the solo Batman movie. He was like, I don't
Oh
want
my
to do
gosh.
this. Like,
And then you have all of the problems with Ray Fisher, starting with Joss Whedon.
Oh yes.
yes,
Yep.
And
Forgot about that.
it was just a disaster of a movie. And and it came out around the same time as Black Panther.
yes, it did.
And so
Oh my
Black
gosh.
Panther is over here like destroying the box office, and everyone's like, this movie is amazing. And then Justice League comes out, and everyone is like, this movie sucks. The CGI is awful. The story sucks.
The idea of like
The
jokes, like you said about the Flash Wonder Woman thing, is like they're not funny and borderline creepy, like or
he
actually
literally
creepy.
Yeah.
he literally copied the scene from Age of Ultron, Josh, where Bruce Banner falls on Black
Yeah.
Widow's chest in the middle. He does that with
Yep.
Flash and Wonder Woman,
I have
and
seen that. Like,
it's
I've
so
seen that
bad, and
clip.
you're like this is not good
No one's laughing.
because
They're just making it awkward.
at that point too, you know, Wonder Woman is this really big um, female icon in like superhero culture now,
Right.
and
Right.
then they do something like that that's really demeaning.
Yep.
Yeah, super
Yep.
disrespectful.
Yep. It
So
is.
yeah, there is.
It's kind of like a miracle this movie got released. It sounds like I don't
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I mean
I don't
they pretty much reshoot the entire movie.
I don't know how. It's kind of funny. Like sometimes when something's so bad, you do have to be like, how'd they do it? How'd they pull it off? Like that. it's almost admirable that something that bad could exist. You know.
yeah.
Yep.
So having not seen that movie, all right, I'm gonna. I don't want to just dunk on everything right now, but I felt like this category deserves some honorable mentions. Um, things
Yes.
that we've already talked about Wonder Woman 84 and the problems that we had with that movie, but I think that is in competition for my least favorite DCEU movie. But it's not high on the competition because, like I said, it was still funny and I still found like moments of joy in it. Suicide Squad. This might be my second least favorite of the DCU movies. The 2016 one. I remember when I went and saw that movie. By the way, quick tangent. I was like home on college break. There was something wrong with my car at the time where there was like a piece underneath the bottom of the car that kept detaching and scraping the street. So like I would be driving my car and all you would hear is just scraping. Like it sounded like something like someone had got their car like raised to the ground or lowered to the ground like in a Fast and Furious movie or something like that. But it was just broken. And I remember I picked up some friends to go see the movie, and then my car starts doing that as we're driving to the movie theater. And I'm calling my parents freaking out because I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. I am not an adult. And then we like I'm stressed. My friends see that I'm stressed. They're stressed for me. We finally get into the movie theater and we sit down, start watching this movie, and like everyone's looking at each other like, why? Why are we here? What are we doing with our dollars and our time that we are watching the Suicide Squad movie right now? That is a Suicide Squad is a lesson in like basically just how not to introduce a bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
Just don't do it that way.
When it's one of the most bizarre stories, I don't think I've ever seen it again in Hollywood. Where I don't know if you all remember, but like the trailer, the very first one came out, and it was set to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
And everybody was like, "This trailer is amazing."
Yep.
And so famously, Warner Brothers in the wake of the reception to BVS was like, "Oh, they like this. We're gonna have the trailer house that made the trailer recut the movie to make the movie more like the trailer, and not like what David Ayer says he originally intended."
What?
Yeah, and so that movie was reshot a bunch as well to make it more like lighthearted and funny. And apparently, the Joker was originally a much more like sinister and consistent presence and a whole bunch of things. So yeah, that's another one where like the making of is a legend all to itself.
And what they wanted to, I think, is they wanted their version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
They're like, what
Yep.
made Guardians of
That's
the
a great
Galaxy?
point.
What made Guardians of the Galaxy pop? Oh, they had music in it. Like, well, yeah, Guardians had music in it, and people liked it, but it's not just because it had good songs. Guardians of the Galaxy is actually a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like so much of what we're talking about is also a lesson in studios. Just back off. Just let your people cook. Let your people make these movies. I will give I'll give my award out now, and then I want to talk about a different movie. I think since we've already talked about this movie, I feel fine saying that my least favorite DCU movie is Batman v Superman.
Ooh.
I I really disliked it when I watched this in the theater. And I just remember thinking like what a waste of a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
You have probably the two most popular comic book characters ever headlining a movie to go against each other, and this was the outcome. This is the best we could do. I just remember being really disappointed because unlike Suicide Squad, unlike some of these other movies we're saying, it's Batman versus Superman. Your expectation is high going into this movie.
Yep.
So it was a feeling of a letdown. Like I said, I watched the Cinema Sins the other night of this movie, and I think what was illuminated for me is like the people creating Zack Snyder, David Ayer, the people creating DCU had a lot of really great ideas, but I just don't think they had enough. They had probably too much studio interference and probably not the right method for bringing all these ideas to life. Like there are so many cool Easter eggs and teases in these movies, but not enough substance to make you care about the story that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say, Josh, if you've only seen the theatrical cut of Batman vs Superman, check out the extended edition.
That is the only one I've seen, so that's a fair point. I've heard from you guys, I've heard from others that like people like that. People like
I'm not saying the extended edition's like it fixes everything or is a masterpiece, but it's like, oh, the plot is coherent. Like,
yep.
It might make it not your least favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Well, then maybe this will be my least favorite. The movie I really want to talk about now. Guys, can we just have 5 minutes? It's time. It's time. Can we all just talk about The Flash, please?
Oh, let's. I've been dying ever since I saw this before you guys.
And you saw this early. Did you see this in theaters, Trent?
No, I just saw it when it first dropped on Max.
That's right, because they were like 3 weeks later. We need to take this off right now. All right. I'll start by saying about a third way into the movie, I was thinking, I'm not sure I get it. I'm actually enjoying this. Like I'm actually enjoying this kind of like family story about like Barry Allen wanted to change his past and not fitting into the world that he's in just based off of who he is and trying to cling to Bruce Wayne as like a moral support in his life. Really was digging a lot of that stuff. And then the movie kept going. And it reminded me a lot of Multiverse of Madness, where Michael Keaton's here. Oh my gosh. But like, why is Michael Keaton here? Same with like the Illuminati and Doctor Strange. Why were they here? Oh, there wasn't really a big reason for them to be here. We just wanted to put something in here to get people to come watch this movie. Michael Keaton's Batman does not really need to be in this movie at all. And then we get to the third act, and oh my gosh. All right, I don't even think I have the words. Trent, do you want to talk about the third act of this movie?
I assume you're mainly talking about like the Chromo Bowl.
Yes.
Of, like
yes.
Wax sculpture.
Yes.
From the bit. Yeah. So Barry and other more annoying Barry start like running to undo time to save Supergirl and Batman, and then they just keep going to all these different multiverses or seeing glimpses of it, and there are all these weird CGI wax figures, and they bring back Christopher Reeve and Adam West from the dead, and it's the most disrespectful, horrifying thing I think I've ever seen.
Yep.
And
Nick Cage. Nick Cage
Nick,
superimposed.
Yeah, did you hear, guys, later he gave an interview that he was like, when I was on set, they didn't tell me that, like, they told me they were capturing my face digitally and that I was supposed to be looking at, like, the destruction of Krypton and be, like, very sad about my homeworld dying.
What?
And then I go to the theater and it's me fighting a giant spider thing.
What?
Man. And so,
wow.
So yeah, no, just what a frustrating movie. Yeah, like the first opening action sequence, I was like, oh, this idea of Barry having to consume calories, otherwise time speeds up around him. Like, that's kind of cool. And Ben Affleck is cool as Batman, and like he's, street surfing and flying around. I'm like, this is not bad. And then the minute like second Barry Allen shows up
Yeah.
is where I started to get nervous. And
Oh
then
yeah.
from there it was just steady, like, oh no, like, and
It was a decline.
and then by the end I was just like, I think I hate this.
Exactly. Yes, this is exactly my experience.
Yeah, it's just all the stuff with Ezra Miller as an external factor aside, I was like, you can still maybe give me a complex Barry Allen story, and I like the Barry Allen character that they set up in Justice League. And then even like the primary Barry was weirdly annoying to me and not the same character, it felt like.
Yeah.
It was such a weird movie that, like, and people are already going to forget, but like when the first screeners were going out, everybody was like, this is the best DC movie since The Dark Knight, everybody.
Yes.
Like, this is Endgame.
Oh my God.
This is Endgame level storytelling. And then I was like, what are people doing? Like,
absolutely crazy.
So I think I feel about The Flash the way you feel about Wonder Woman 84. I kind of had a good time with it.
Okay.
Joseph. Okay. I'm shocked.
Please bring some happiness. So
it is not good. It's not good. But I mean, kind of watching it, you start off and you're like, what is going on with these babies flying out a window?
Those babies.
And that is terrifying. Those demon babies.
And like the crowable CGI faces and stuff, I was like, I'm kind of okay with this. This looks really stupid, but
wow,
I'm here for it.
Okay, interesting.
And Michael Keaton's Batman, I was like, okay, whatever. And I don't think I was as annoyed by other Barry as you guys. And I think it was funny because other Barry's like, people find me annoying, and then our Barry is like, yeah, I kind of see that now.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of okay with the movie. I got to the end of it. I got to the end of the movie and was like, I don't feel like I wasted my time. It was fine. It was bad, but it was fine.
Okay.
I will say it was utterly ridiculous, and I do love Ben Affleck, but having George Clooney replace.
Oh my God!
Oh, yeah, that was so bad.
But it was like kind of an amazing
funny.
gag.
It was a good gag,
especially because you could tell like they made no effort to make George Clooney feel like Bruce Wayne at all. He just showed up in like those George Clooney wardrobe and sunglasses. Like,
yep. I will say, so there's actually a part of me that I think I get why the buzz was so big for this movie. There's a chance, there's likely a chance the VFX weren't finished when so many people were watching this and saying like, oh no, like look, they did something right. There's a lot of like, this movie was kind of made to be a blockbuster event. You know what I mean? Like there are so many like moments in this movie that just fit a theater well for people to all be laughing together or to be pointing them in and screaming because Michael Keaton's on screen. And like Michael Keaton's giving a dramatic pause, like between the words, like, that's right, I'm Batman. You know, like they made the movie expecting people to react to it in the theater.
Yeah,
so like
for sure.
There's a lot of really good moments and like, it's funny. I think it's funny, but like for me, like, I gave it a 1.5 on Letterboxd. That was my Letterboxd review. The VFX was so bad that I like it. It actually made me angry in the third act. Like I actually got, because I'm with you, Joseph. Like I was surprisingly enjoying myself, and then when we got to the like empty desert blue sky, there's literally no other texture on screen, and you're just watching wax figures run and look distorted. I was like, yo, what is happening right now?
Well, because I was kind of vibing with like the twist of like Zod being like, we were looking for the Codex and we thought it was Clark, and so we like murdered infant Clark Kent, and Supergirl just goes like utter rage mode. I was like, I'm here for this. This is like the most dramatically invested I've been in this entire movie. And then the movie's just like, psych, she's just gonna die a million times, and Supergirl's not actually gonna matter to this plot.
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
oh, that was the last bit of goodwill that movie used for me. And then from then on, I was like punning it. I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's not fair because I think so much of it depends on what have we gotten recently. You know, everybody's fatigued by this stuff.
For sure.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had also really bad VFX.
100%.
But I did not think that would. I thought that would be the worst VFX I saw all year, and then this came out, and you're like, oh my! It's like this is everything that people really dislike about these movies right now, packed
Mhm.
into action packed into one, giant
I mean,
VFX fest.
it's basically PS2 cutscene the movie. I mean,
Yes, yeah,
I'll give it that.
yeah,
It does not look good,
yeah.
even though the Flash's suit kind of looks cool.
The Flash's suit does kind of look cool.
It does. It does. I will agree with that. Okay, all right. I got my feelings out. Thank you all for coming to our Flash therapy.
No, I've literally been holding on to this for like a month and a half, and I'm like, one day I'm just gonna unleash.
Do you feel resolved, Trent? I hope
I
so.
do, but
Okay.
but you are right about the theater thing because I did watch the first half of this in Emily and Matt's living room, and then
Yeah.
the second half because we all went to bed on my phone in their basement. So it was probably not like the way that it's designed to be consumed.
Definitely not. All right, let's give our top three, each of us, top three DCEU movies.
Yeah, so I'll go 3, 2, 1 here. Number 3, Aquaman. It's so much fun.
Wow.
It's so much fun. It's the one that I most want to watch and want to show others just to see them react to different things, like an octopus playing the drums or Mira killing a dude with like the wine from a wine cellar using her waterbending powers. I actually think the action in Aquaman's pretty underrated. Like I think the whole fight scene in Spain or wherever it is, where it's like going across the rooftops and the camera's spinning around and all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yep.
Like I think that's really good. So that's my number 3. Number 2 would be Shazam. I think
Okay,
just the idea.
I'm curious by your list.
Yeah, I think just a kid like basically big but with superheroes is such a
Yeah.
great pitch for a movie. And the idea of him being like, I want to go buy beer and then hating beer. Also trying to make money as like a street music artist in or Philadelphia, but he's like doing Eye of the Tiger, but with like lightning strikes for the guitar riff. It's just so much fun, and I think there's like an earnestness of his whole arc of like he's looking for his biological mom the whole movie, and then finding his family and his adopted family. Like it's cheesy, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my favorite by far, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I think it's
By
the
far.
best.
All right. All
The
right.
best thing that they've created. When I first watched it, I didn't actually like it in the sense that I was like, this is Guardians of the Galaxy, but less funny and less lighthearted. But I think rewatching it, it sort of works as this sort of 70s war movie, like The Dirty Dozen, like this idea of like go behind enemy lines and solve this, and like these people who've messed up so much in life get like one shot to do a redeeming thing. Also,
Yeah.
I think the movie's just really funny. Like the gag of the first team going on the mission, and then Joel Kinnaman's like, go, and then the weasel like drowns. And he's like, did anybody check to see if the weasel could swim?
Yeah, that's
great.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Captain Boomerang.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how quickly Boomer got busted out of there.
Yep.
Also, Josh, I don't know if you got far enough that this is a split, but like Starro, I think is pretty rad.
Starro is hilarious.
I don't think I got far enough for that.
Okay, you got to watch the end.
Okay.
But Starro's a great character. The contest between Idris Elba and John Cena at the camp is just great.
Yes.
Where they're like, who's the more lethal person? Yeah, I just really like the way the whole movie flows. I think it's funny. I think it works as sort of like I said, a gritty 70s war movie, and it's the one that I rewatch, I think, the most at this point.
All right, I think I'm going to stir up controversy with my top 3. So my number 3 is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh, let's go.
Whoa.
I was really high on Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it does have a lot of problems. But I'm a big fan of Superman, and I think Superman coming back and tearing stuff up was awesome. I think Batman had a good arc in it where he was burdened with feeling like he killed Superman. Cyborg has a great story arc in it.
Yeah, it does. He
Flash has a
does.
great story arc in it.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's such an improvement over the theatrical cut, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So there's my first controversial pick. Second controversial pick comes from the heart, Aquaman. Man,
Yeah.
I loved
Oh.
Aquaman when it came out. Aquaman is my favorite DC character, and I was like, they can really screw this movie up, and it ended up just being a really fun, cheesy action movie, and I was cool with it. I had a great time with it. Um, yeah, my number one is Man of Steel, going all the way back,
Wow. Oh my
and
gosh.
Nice.
here is the controversial, even more controversial than picking Man of Steel number one. Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies ever made.
Whew.
Wow.
Here he goes.
I
Oh,
I
Joseph.
I love Man of Steel. I think it's so good, and I don't understand the hate. Like, I know what
No.
people say about it, and I'm like, nope, you're wrong. This movie is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, Man of Steel is my
That's
favorite
interesting.
one.
So Man of Steel is my number 4, by the way. So
Okay.
it's so close to making my list as well. I love it so much. I underrated Hans Zimmer work. Like
Ooh,
First
yes.
Flight is
Good.
one of the
Yep.
greatest things Hans Zimmer's ever composed.
Yeah,
I think the only thing that holds it back for me from like same thing, honestly, Joseph, not just DC, but favorite superhero movie ever is that not the cliche like it's all the collateral damage in the third act. For me, it's just like the third act's one long action scene,
Yeah.
and it just I go a little bit numb by the end of the movie for me a little bit.
It has been a long time since I've rewatched Man of Steel, but I really I think I'm going to, because I do remember really loving the beginning
Yes.
of Man of Steel. You know, like that
Oh, one
is
of the best openings to a comic book movie ever with like the destruction of Krypton and stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's great.
and like yeah, it's just that the added context you need to for a Superman story. Okay, so my top three is it's gonna kind of float in between the both of you. Number three, I'm gonna go James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I just thought it was like, even though I haven't seen the full length movie, I believe that it's some of DC's best work. James Gunn is just this is why James Gunn should be trusted with the DCU, in my opinion. He's just creative. He's just extremely creative,
Mm-hmm.
and could take something that didn't work in a previous movie and find a way to make it work. You know.
mm-hmm.
Um, Number two, Wonder Woman. I really, I was surprised that this wasn't on either of y'all's lists.
So it's my
Uh,
number 5.
okay,
It's barely out there.
okay. I just think, for reasons I've said before already, great story for us getting to know the character of Wonder Woman and the romance between her and Chris Pine's character. I think it's really good. And then number one, I'm gonna go Shazam. I
Ooh.
if I'm being honest with myself, I think that's the one I enjoyed the most. Like, it's not high stakes. It's so simple. It's such a simple story. And I actually wish DC would have done more of that, because I think when you keep it such a focused narrative on the main character and less about we got to build a cinematic universe, it can work out really well. So Shazam was my favorite.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna roll through the end of this episode with kind of some funny moments, some bits, so to speak, from the DCEU. We're calling this section our blooper reel. There are several moments throughout the DCEU that you legit would have to rewind and run it back to say, what? Wait, I'm sorry, what just happened? These are unintentionally funny moments that are probably there for dramatic effect that made you laugh, because it was you were scratching your head as to why this moment was in the movie. I've got a list. I'm sure you guys do too. I just say we go rapid fire Trent, Joseph, me, and keep going until we run out of blooper reel moments in the DCEU. Trent, you want to go first?
So the main one for me is that there's, it's rare to have a moment so bizarre that it takes you out of the movie and you kind of can't even absorb the rest of it because you're busy wrapping your head around. And that's the choice to not just resurrect Steve Trevor, but have him take
Yes.
over the body
Oh
of
God,
another human male
no.
in the universe of Wonder Woman 1984.
Uh,
Mind you, not just bringing him back, but like he and Diana get it on. And so
yep, yep.
there's a lot of moral implications that I found myself. I'm like, so is this dude in a coma? Like, is he just trapped? Like, is he like Daniel Kaluuya and Get Out? Like he's observing all this, but he can't do anything. Um,
And
It's not good.
they had the dumbest explanation ever. She's like, "You're Steve." Yeah, but I don't look like him. Well, you look like him to me because you're him.
yeah, I was just like, why can't Steve just magically be back in the present day? Like
Right.
that, it's a magic stone already,
Exactly. It's already a flimsy MacGuffin. Like, just make him resurrect.
and there's not creepy consent issues that way.
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was on my list. Gotta be one of the worst choices made in these movies.
It's wild stuff.
Yep. I'm going to stay in the same movie.
Yes.
I thought it was absolutely hilarious when Wonder Woman is learning to fly after Steve Trevor dies again. It's supposed to be this really somber, powerful moment, and it was just funny. She's like running away and decides she could start flying, and
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
it's almost like it basically looks like the Christopher Reeve Superman flying. It's like,
Yo.
oh, she's got the green screen and the stunt wires on her, and I just remember laughing at it.
Yeah, it was pretty cheesy. I'm not gonna lie. Um. Okay. Oh man, there's two. I hope to get both of these, but the first one, I have to say, gotta be one of the wildest like conflict resolutions in movie history. But when Batman and Superman are fighting each other, and Superman decides to tell Batman, "Save Martha," and call his mom by her own first name, and then Batman gets PTSD triggered because their moms share the same first name, and he goes, "Why'd you say that name?" Has got to be one of the wildest moments in cinema history to me.
So I'm actually a defender of the moment. Like
Wow.
I think I,
Okay. All right.
let me be clear. I'm going to be very specific here. The moment. Like I think the idea of, because it's not that they have this, the mothers have the same name. It's that the idea
Yeah.
that Batman realizes, oh my gosh, like I'm going to get a mother killed because of what I'm doing, just like what somebody did to me as a kid. That's what it means. And so but I agree. You said it, Josh. It's like the fact that Clark calls his own mother Martha instead of the much more specific and helpful, like, hey, they have my mom hostage or you're killing my mom.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
yes. That's such a weird thing for him to say in that moment that, yes, I agree. The usage of Martha specifically is so insane.
It's so poorly executed.
Yes.
It's rough.
I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe what was happening in the theater.
All right, I got to return to the well of 1984 one more time.
Oh, wow, we're still going.
So, like BVS happens because Batman's like, Kryptonians and aliens are from the sky. Like, that's the worst thing that's ever happened on the face of this planet. And then 1984 happens, and retroactively, movie tells us that, like, people came so close to wishing that, like, nukes would hit everywhere in the U.S. And, like, everyone's in the streets wishing people dead and people are dying. And I'm like, so does nobody remember that, like, we almost had nuclear Armageddon in 1984, let alone like alien. Like, I don't think aliens coming to Earth are the biggest thing to happen in this universe anymore.
That's a great point. Oh my gosh, you're right. Gosh, oh man. I didn't think Wonder Woman 84 was that low for me, but it's raised, it's lowering by the second here. Oh.
That's my last one on that movie.
Oh, well, yikes.
Not to change it up, mine is from Wonder Woman 84.
Let's go.
Wow.
So Pedro Pascal's character is like, he's running around after they fixed the wishing stone thing. And he's like, I gotta find my son. Where is he at? And his son just runs out of a bush.
I forgot about that.
He just runs out of a bush and is like, Dad, I'm here.
Do you guys remember that like Duracell commercial where like the woman loses her son in the park and she like whips out a tracker device thing? And she's like, "Where's Kevin? I gotta find Kevin."
Oh, no,
And
I
then
don't
like he
remember
just
that.
like walks out of the bushes. It's that exact commercial.
Oh gosh.
But it's like the kid,
It's so bad.
he's like, son, son. And it's like the kid waited, and then Pedro Pascal turns around, and the son is like full sprinting out of this bush.
It's incredible
It's
stuff.
it's so
Oh,
bad.
it's so bad. Gosh, man, I'm loving this. Well, my next one is Wonder Woman related, but from a different movie, but from the same movie. I already picked one. Batman vs Superman. Gotta be, again, one of the wildest choices I can think of when you think about assembling a super team. Nick Fury breaks into Tony Stark's apartment and says, "You're part of something bigger." Thor's hammer crashes into New Mexico, and the SHIELD agents are there on the scene to detect it. Wonder Woman cracks open Batman's emails and finds a bunch of random clips of random superheroes from across the world. And that's how we get to learn that there are other superheroes out there.
And,
The email thing will forever be hilarious to me.
It's wild.
and it's not even that she cracks into his email. Batman sends her the email.
Yes, that's
He's like, look at this.
He's like, look what I found. There's other heroes too. Where are you from? I found this World War I photo of you with your friends.
Oh gosh, man.
Oh my gosh, you all giving me inspo the more we talk about this.
Is
Because I'll return to Batman vs Superman. So there's
Okay.
a moment early on where Lex Luthor is introduced playing basketball. And
yeah.
like he's like, I need access to this like hunk of kryptonite and the spaceship. And he's like, I need the senator to do this for me.
Yeah.
And do you all remember this? He grabs a Jolly Rancher, unwraps it, and like inserts it into the senator's mouth with like the most unsubtle metaphor like that I've ever seen in my life, except for another one that comes later in the same movie.
You can go for that one too if you want.
Okay, so do you all remember like there's one part where like Holly Hunter's like, you can call like P
Yes.
sweet tea, but it doesn't mean I believe it. And then later, right before the Senate hearing blows up, she like sees a jar of urine on her table
That says Granny's peach tea labeled
Yeah.
on the jar.
I mean, just some
Unreal.
and really, really strong Lex Luthor choices Zack Snyder made.
Extremely strong. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's see. I think I'm gonna go a moment from Black Adam where they do like this weird zoom in on his head when he's flying around. It was this,
one of the greatest memes from last year.
yeah. So it's just because The Rock has a shaved head and it's just a zoomed in camera on his face.
Yes,
But it's not zoomed in like in front of him. It's on top of him so that you just see his forehead.
yeah, no, and Yeah.
Okay, I'm so glad. I was like, we can't go the whole episode and not talk about Black Adam. That is
the hierarchy of the DC universe changed.
It changed forever. Gosh, like I feel like it gets, because the DCU was essentially kind of on its last leg by the time Black Adam comes out. It gets a pass almost, but Black Adam was terrible. Black Adam was, I don't know. Okay, maybe you didn't think it was terrible, but
this is like the way that Joseph feels about the Flash. This is my like, it's bad, but I kind of like it. Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I enjoyed myself in the theater too, but it's just it's the changing the hierarchy of power in the DCU thing for me.
Like the fact that it's the most Dwayne the Rock movie star thing that he's like, by the end of this movie, I'm gonna literally fight like Satan. Like
yes, exactly. My next moment, it was also Black Adam, and so perfect segue here, because the fact that, again, perfect peak Dwayne the Rock Johnson to say like, hey, I know it's not working right now, but guess what? I'm putting DCU back on the map, and I'm gonna fight Satan. And at the end of this movie, guess who's coming back? Henry Cavill as Superman, and then proceed to like 5 months later when James Gunn is like, I'm sorry, but Henry Cavill will not be returning as
That
Superman.
that week was like the greatest week of Joseph's life. It's like Henry Cavill's back, and they're gonna make Man of Steel 2. They confirmed it, and then like a month and a half later, they were like, no.
Yeah.
I was so sad.
But it's one of the funniest moments to me in this whole saga. It's like the DCU had gone so rogue that they were about to hand The Rock the keys to the whole universe. Like
Yes.
that is where this got to. So that will forever be one of the funniest moments to me. For some reason, Superman felt bothered enough to come back to take on Black Adam. It's crazy, just crazy.
It's wild stuff. I only have one more. So in the Flash, you know, we'd heard a lot that like it was another multiverse movie. We'd gotten a lot of those. You know, Everything Everywhere All at Once, won Best Picture. So
Yep.
it's like, how much more of this can we do? There's a scene in the Flash where they're in Bruce Wayne's mansion, and like they're having some spaghetti, and like Michael Keaton takes the perfect moment to try to explain the multiverse. And by explain, I mean he basically just dumps out the spaghetti bowl. He's like, it's all this time straight. It's just jumbled together like a pot of spaghetti. Like it's just all a mix. You don't even know what's getting into what. And like that's all they say about the multiverse in that entire movie.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
Pasta serves as the perfect explanation to the multiverse. I mean, in a weird way, I didn't hate it. I wouldn't mind for Marvel to put some of that creativity into explaining the multiverse.
No, it's funny. I just appreciate the meta-ness of it, that even the writers were like, we know the multiverse is overdone at this point, so we're not even going to try to like reinvent the wheel here. We're just going to say it's spaghetti. Like,
I think this will be my last one, and it's from Zack Snyder's Justice League. At the end of the movie, Batman has the nightmare, and he wakes up, and Martian Manhunter's outside, and is like, "Hey, what's up, buddy? We should protect the Earth together." Okay, I'm gonna go fly away now. And Bruce Wayne is sitting there. He's just like, "Okay."
I love that Martian Manhunter's like, I didn't feel the need to help out with this crisis, but the next one, like, I'll be ready.
You remember when I was on site for Zod's invasion? And then how I didn't help with this? Yeah, I changed my mind now.
I look, honorable mentions, Henry Cavill's mustache removal
We talked
via
about this.
CGI. Great stuff. I mentioned it earlier, but the superhero introductions in Suicide Squad are just the worst one is Katana, when she legitimately, the helicopter is taking off to leave, and then she like zip lines in, and they're like, "Oh, that's right, we forgot about Katana. Here's what you need to know about her. She's really she traps the souls of her enemies with her sword. There you go. All right, cool. We're good to go now."
Well, no, because Joel Kinnaman, great actor for All Mankind, by the way, amazing TV show. But like, yeah, he's literally like on the helicopter. He's like, "That's Katana. Her sword traps the soul of her victim. She's got my back." Like, and that's all he says.
That's all you get.
I would advise not getting killed by her.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the prelude.
I will end just by, this one isn't as funny as much as it is like, I think something we will forget about. There's a movie in the DCU that was made, finished, and everything that the world never saw.
Oh yeah,
Batgirl. There's another movie that's a part of this that we may never lay our eyes on. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not something you see in movies very often, let alone in the fandom genre. Like, everything gets put out eventually.
Also, this is a movie that could have totally started the Michael Keaton Batman renaissance, because this is before The Flash, and it was at the Brendan Fraser renaissance because he was the villain.
That's right. Forgot about that. So we'll end the blooper reel with justice for Batgirl. Release Batgirl. Just make it happen. Batgirl. Just put it on Max. We'll watch it. All right.
Well, maybe.
I will watch it.
I would watch it.
I will absolutely watch it. All right. That's gonna just about do it for this episode. The last question I'll ask you all is, what will you miss about the DCEU?
You know, what I'll miss about it is the post Justice League era, where they were doing the interesting thing of like, okay, clearly building a universe isn't working, so we're just gonna let directors make really interesting choices. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely love that Birds of Prey can be this street level like girl power hangout movie, and I don't mean that condescending. I mean that as like what they intended to make. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have James Wan with Aquaman being like, this is going to be like a romantic comedy kind of around the globe, and also an octopus is going to play the drums, and
Yeah.
also Gimli's going to be a crab king, and also Orm's going to have like a megaphone built into his voice. Like the fact the
Pretty cool
movies were
stuff.
just like because we were getting to that point too with Marvel in this era where it was like the copy paste. It's like, okay, quirky joke from Marvel, like third act's not that great, and it was sort of feeling like the same thing. I appreciate the DC for all their faults. Each movie did feel different tonally
Yeah.
and thematically for a while there. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
like when they embraced not building a universe and they just were making interesting movies under the DC broader umbrella, that was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me is as someone who generally enjoyed the early DC stuff, I think they had a nice alternate tone from Marvel where it was a
Mhm.
more serious, darker take. I think that's going to go away, and um, I'll miss that some. I think it was a good alternative for the really quippy Marvel movies.
Yeah. There are things that I think I'll just miss the what this could have been. There was always a path to this really working. I know it didn't ultimately work out, but and we talked about a lot of things that didn't work today. But there was always a chance. I think the biggest thing for me is the cast. When I look at Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal
Mhm.
Gadot, Jason Momoa, like there's just a lot of I hope Margot Robbie comes back as Harley Quinn. There's a lot of heavy hitters here who I think could have worked really well together. And the actors I think poured a lot into these roles, and it's a shame they won't be able to see it out to the end with some of these characters.
Yep, for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that's gonna do it. We covered a lot today.
I think
Uh,
so.
we covered the DCU extensively, maybe for the last time. I'm
Yep.
super excited for James Gunn's DCU. Like in a year, we'll be talking about Superman Legacy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and this year we get Creature Commandos. So we get our first taste of what the James Gunn DC experience
Mhm.
could look like. But that's gonna wrap today's episode. Thank you all for listening. As always, you can follow us on social media at the Stinger Pod on TikTok and on Instagram. You can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube at the Stinger Pod as well. We'll be back soon with some more fun content for you all.